The woman in the water was on the verge of suffocating, but she stared ahead in terror. Too afraid to swim out of the pipe, a crocodile was roaming outside, circling ominously. When the crocodile finally vanished from sight, Haley gathered the courage to swim toward the exit. She carefully checked the distance to the water's surface, making sure it was safe. Then, with caution, she poked her head out and looked around. Seeing nothing unusual, she swam out into the open, but to her horror, there was another crocodile resting right above her. It immediately spotted her at the very last second. Just before the crocodile could catch her, Haley managed to escape safely to the shore. She then grabbed a chair and smashed open the glass at home. Her father was trapped in the basement at that moment, his life hanging by a thread. Just a few hours earlier, the strongest storm in history had suddenly arrived. Haley braved the fierce wind and rain to rush home, but when she got inside, she found the house in complete disarray. She searched every corner of every room, but there was no sign of her father. The only clue was her dog barking furiously at the basement door. Haley immediately realized that her father was probably down there. She called out for him several times, but there was no response, so she turned on her phone's flashlight and carefully made her way down to investigate. As soon as she stepped into the basement, she noticed a trail of blood. Scattered tools were lying all over the floor. Following the bloodstains, she saw a familiar figure sprawled out on the ground. Haley moved closer to get a better look. Sure enough, it was her father, Dave, unconscious. Deep gashes marked his shoulder, as if he had been attacked by something. The situation was critical, and Haley didn't have time to think. She quickly started dragging her father, determined to get him to the hospital. But just then, the dog suddenly started barking like crazy again. It seemed to sense some kind of danger. Just as Haley was about to reach the exit, a terrifying sight unfolded. To her horror, she realized there was an alligator in the basement. Haley was paralyzed with fear. Her escape route was completely blocked. With no other choice, she quickly dragged her father and turned back. At that moment, her phone slipped from her hand and fell to the ground. The alligator lunged forward, ready to strike. In the nick of time, Haley scrambled over a nearby pipe, pulling Dave in with her. The massive alligator was stopped by the narrow gap. Unable to squeeze through, Haley stared at the creature in shock, not daring to breathe until it finally turned around and left. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. Before long, Dave finally regained consciousness. He told Haley everything he had been through. He explained that he had originally tried to seal the vent to prevent the basement from flooding, but the storm caused the water level to rise dramatically. Alligators from the lake had forced their way into the house through the drainage pipes. His lower leg had been badly injured, making it impossible for him to walk. At that moment, Haley suddenly spotted her phone lying on the ground. She wanted to pick it up and call for help, but since she didn't know where the alligator was hiding, and with the basement so dimly lit, Haley had no choice but to move forward cautiously. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. She successfully retrieved the phone, but just as she was about to dial the emergency number, an alligator suddenly appeared right behind her. Instinct for survival drove Haley to struggle with all her might. She kicked the crocodile in the head repeatedly with her left foot, miraculously managing to break free from its jaws. But just as she was about to get up and flee, she was horrified to see another crocodile appear right in front of her, with no way out. Haley grabbed a tool and fought back desperately. Meanwhile, her father watched helplessly, pounding on the pipes to try to distract the crocodile. At that moment, Haley knew that if she wanted to survive, she would have to rely on herself. Finally, she managed to escape the danger. Seeing the crocodile turn and leave, Haley quickly told her father what had happened to her, relieved that his daughter was still alive. Her father let out a sigh of relief, but Haley's condition was far from good. A gruesome wound on her thigh was all too visible. To prevent excessive blood loss, she could only grit her teeth and give the wound a quick, makeshift treatment. But things were about to get even worse. The storm outside was growing more and more intense, and crocodiles were still lurking around. Meanwhile, water was beginning to flood the basement. It was only a matter of time before it was completely submerged. At this rate, both of them would be dead. Haley refused to sit there and wait to die. She looked outside and, seeing no sign of the crocodile, made the bold decision to climb out. On the other side, Dave, using a wrench and a belt, fought through the pain to set his broken bone back in place. Meanwhile, on her way to reunite with her father, Haley spotted a gas station across the street and realized there were still people there. She screamed for help with all her strength, but the sound of the storm was deafening, and the two people outside were too focused on moving an ATM to hear anything at all. To get their attention, Haley turned on her flashlight and pointed it in their direction. One of them noticed the beam of light and was about to come closer to check it out, but before he could, his partner was suddenly attacked by a crocodile from behind. By the time the man realized something was wrong and turned around, his friend had already become a meal for the crocodile, and he didn't stand a chance either. Haley witnessed a terrifying scene, and her hope of being rescued vanished in an instant. It wasn't until she heard her father's voice that she snapped out of her shock. Dave told Haley that there was another exit from the basement. Following Dave's instructions, Haley managed to find that exit. Unfortunately, it was blocked by heavy furniture pressing down from above. No matter how hard she pushed, she couldn't move it. Outside, the dog was becoming more and more anxious. Meanwhile, the storm outside grew even fiercer. Dave measured the water depth with a tape measure and immediately realized the situation was critical. At the current rising speed, the basement would be flooded within an hour. Before that happened, they had to find a way out. Hearing this, Haley quickly swam toward her father's location. After discussing, they came up with a plan to escape. Dave would stay behind, knocking on the pipes to attract the crocodile's attention. Haley would seize the opportunity to swim toward the staircase. Once she escaped, she would pry open the wooden boards to rescue Dave. Without hesitation, Haley dove into the water. Dave, following the plan, began knocking on the pipes. He even set a trap for the crocodile. Sure enough, the crocodile was lured by the noise and dove into the water. As the crocodile approached, Dave decisively triggered the trap with a kick, successfully trapping the crocodile underwater. He then grabbed a brick and smashed it fiercely against the crocodile's head. After a furious attack, he split the crocodile's skull open. However, Haley ran into trouble. The dog kept barking at the stairway, attracting another crocodile. With time running out, Haley had to tell her father to abandon the original plan. She decided to take a risk and swim out through the drainage pipe. According to her father, the crocodiles had slipped in through that very pipe, but she had no other choice and had to crawl into the pipe. Taking a deep breath, she dove underwater and swam toward the exit. Unexpectedly, just as she reached the opening, she saw a crocodile waiting there. Then, the heart-pounding scene from earlier unfolded again. Just 1 second before the crocodile caught up, Haley narrowly escaped and made it safely to shore. By then, the basement was completely flooded. Dave was about to suffocate from lack of oxygen. Haley quickly smashed the glass door open. With the help of the dog, they successfully pinpointed Dave's location. After some effort, they finally lifted the floorboards, but Dave had already fallen unconscious. Haley quickly pulled her father up, continuously performing chest compressions. Eventually, she brought him back from the brink of death. The father and daughter had to leave immediately. However, when they pushed open the door, they found the outside completely flooded. The water was crawling with crocodiles everywhere. Jumping in recklessly would surely mean a gruesome death. Their only chance was to take the small boat from the gas station and get away. With such heavy rain as cover, as long as they stayed quiet and careful, they had no reason to fear a crocodile attack. So the father and daughter, along with the dog, waded into the water and began slowly making their way toward the gas station ahead. They cautiously scanned their surroundings. They had covered about half the distance, thinking they might reach safety, but suddenly, the storm stopped. The water's surface instantly became calm. Looking up in disbelief, they realized the storm was right above them. A sense of dread washed over them. Just as they were about to keep moving forward, a crocodile suddenly appeared, frozen in place. They dared not move a muscle. Fortunately, the crocodile didn't notice them, but then, unfortunately, the town's alarms suddenly blared. A flood was about to hit. Their only option now was to quickly swim over and start the boat, but doing that would expose Haley's location. She had to swim faster than the crocodiles. There was no time to hesitate. Nearby crocodiles immediately heard the commotion and started swimming toward her direction. Haley climbed onto the boat, but just as she was helping her father and the dog aboard, a massive flood surged in. They didn't have time to start the boat and get away. In an instant, they were overwhelmed by the rushing water. Unexpectedly, the father and daughter were swept back toward their home. In the chaos, the floodwaters separated them once again. Haley crawled out of the water, but Dave was nowhere to be seen. She called out loudly for her father, and thankfully, he was safe. Worried about crocodiles in the water, Haley didn't dare to cross recklessly. She tossed a board into the water to test the safety first. Only after confirming it was safe did she jump onto the table on the other side. But suddenly, one of the table legs broke, causing her to lose balance and fall into the water. Haley struggled and quickly climbed back up, fearful of being attacked by crocodiles. Luckily, it was a false alarm. No crocodiles appeared. Meanwhile, Dave found some burning sticks in the stairwell. He immediately lit one and started searching around for the dog. Just as he was carrying the dog up the stairs, a crocodile suddenly appeared in the water. It bit down hard on his arm. At that moment, Haley saw everything. She successfully attracted the crocodile's attention, shifting its attack toward herself. Haley quickly swam into the bathroom, but before she could close the door, the crocodile was already chasing after her. But the crocodile didn't leave. Instead, it kept banging on the door outside. Haley was deeply worried about her father's safety. She knew she had to find a way out of this danger. Without hesitation, Haley opened the bathroom door. She shouted at the crocodile fiercely. She managed to lure the crocodile inside the bathroom. Finally, she slammed the door shut. She successfully trapped the crocodile inside. Then Haley found her father. She opened the ladder in the hallway. They prepared to head up to the roof to take shelter. However, at that moment, Haley saw a rescue helicopter through the window. Fearing she might miss the chance to be rescued, Haley quickly lit a flare. She stood by the window, signaling for help to the helicopter. But not only was she not spotted by the helicopter, she accidentally attracted a crocodile instead. The floodwaters slammed the bedroom door shut. The immense water pressure made it impossible to open. Haley had no choice but to tell her father to go to the roof first. She planned to find a way to get up from the outside, but just a few strokes after swimming out, Haley was attacked by a crocodile. The crocodile bit down hard on her shoulder. On the verge of suffocating, Haley reached for a dropped flare. Without hesitation, she struck the crocodile with the flare. Finally, the crocodile released its grip. Haley took the opportunity to swim to safety. She grabbed onto the edge of the roof, ready to climb up, only to be attacked again by the enraged crocodile. But the danger was far from over. The raging floodwaters battered Haley fiercely. In a critical moment, her father finally arrived. He grabbed Haley's hand firmly and quickly pulled her up onto the roof. The father and daughter lay there, holding each other's hands tightly, grateful that they were both still alive. At that moment, their dog seemed to notice something. The two of them turned to look, and to their surprise, it was another rescue helicopter. Haley, exhausted, hurriedly lit her last flare. The helicopter spotted them and swiftly lowered the rescue ladder. After enduring countless hardships, the father and daughter survived this devastating disaster.